Mr. Soracchi's witness statement. Thank you. The phrase there, I remember there was a saying in the back office to the effect that birth, weddings, funerals, you will get invited to attend these by the people you associate with. Yes. What was your reaction to being told that your role would involve that kind of thing?
It made me realise quite what a commitment it was, and just how involved in other people's lives we would become during the duration of that deployment.
Did you give any consideration as to whether that was appropriate?
I did. I also spoke with people, and the advice I was given was, obviously, if you can avoid, but there will be occasions where you can't, and you will be invited to attend. And by not attending, it will look strange. I don't think I went to any of those, but I certainly went to things where, how would I say it, they were beyond the work I was doing. It was proper family and social stuff.
Yeah, we'll come to some of that later.
Yes.
In the meantime, could we go to the next subparagraph, 24.2?
Yep.
Give you a moment to refresh your memory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm particularly interested in the sentence, my understanding was that sexual relationships were accepted as an occupational hazard. Mm-hmm. You say that had come from informal conversations with SDS managers and other officers.
Yes, that's correct.
Starting with the managers and being careful about anonymity.
Yes, sir.
Which managers did you have informal conversations with about sexual relationships undercover?
As far as I can remember, they would have been my direct supervisors, so sergeants on the team. May have had a conversation with one of the more senior officers who ran the team, who I think we referred to as HM58. But that would be about it.
So DCI 58, mm-hmm. head of the unit when you joined it, mm-hmm. what did he say to you about sexual relationships?
Best avoided. He said there had been issues, and from what I recall, it was, we have to take a common sense approach to this. It's frowned upon. If you do something like that, we will then need to discuss it.
Did you take it from that conversation then that HN 58 was telling you it might happen, but if it did, you must tell him?
Definitely took from it that it might happen. He didn't really say you must tell me. It was more sort of basic than that. It was obviously this is a discussion we will have to have. But he didn't, as far as I can remember, say you must come and tell me immediately.
Well, if it's a discussion that you would have to have, yeah. What did you understand that to mean?
That these things, that sexual relationships might take place, that there had been sexual relationships in the past on the unit.
But in terms of the discussion that you would have to have with him
yeah.
about that, what did you understand?
I didn't really understand anything. It was never said to me, you will be thrown off the unit, you will be withdrawn. It was just, you must flag this up.
Your DI, when you joined the unit, was HN 53.
Yeah, that's correct.
were exploring the conversations that HN9 had had with your then wife.
Yes, sir.
Your last answer said that he was to the effect he'd been asking her whether everything was okay. Can you help us with what it is he said to her that troubled you on a sexual level?
Nothing. He went round, he asked her if everything was okay at home, if we were getting on. To my knowledge, he never asked anything about any kind of sexual stuff on my behalf.
Did he give her to understand that you might be having a sexual relationship?
I don't know, is the honest answer. She just said that she had been bothered by him coming round to our home address to speak to her about me when I wasn't there. I don't think she asked me if I was having an affair or anything at that time, so my answer would be no.
We were going to then move on to Sergeant Beales. Did you have any conversations with Sergeant Beales to the effect that sexual relationships were an occupational hazard?
I believe so, sir. As I say, there were informal conversations. My main sort of supervisors were those two sergeants. You've referred to Sergeant Beales. Am I allowed to refer to, what's his number? Sorry, apologies. HM127 would have been the other sergeant.
Sergeant Tiddy, we can refer to his name.
I'm certain that they were the people I would have had conversations with. That was early on in my deployment.
In the conversations that you had with your managers, did they ever make any distinction about types of sexual activity with members of the public undercover? For example, to distinguish a one-night stand from a longer relationship or a non-activist from an activist?
I don't think so.
In terms of UCOs, your witness statement said that you'd had informal conversations with managers and UCOs to the effect that sexual relationships were an occupational hazard. Yes. Can you give me a yes-no answer? Can you recall which undercover officer or officers you spoke to on this topic?
No.
What was your reaction as you are deploying to the prospect that having a sexual relationship with somebody in your undercover identity was an occupational hazard?
I can't really go back and say what my reaction was. It was sort of just part of the job. You had to accept that it was a risk.
What did you feel about that risk?
I felt that I could manage it at that time. You know, the early days, I felt that I could manage it.
And by manage it, what do you mean?
Avoid or minimalise anything that might take place.
In any of the conversations that you had with either managers or undercover officers before you deployed, was there any suggestion that sexual activity in your undercover identity was a perk of the job?
No.
Did you discuss with your wife the risk of sexual activity undercover?
Yes.
Can you help us with the conversation you had with her?
I think, I can't remember exact conversations, but I think it definitely came up. And I told her that I would do my best to avoid it. I think she was quite sceptical, to be fair, but she was also very supportive of me going and doing that work. And so, again, I think she looked at it as, we will deal with this if it ever happens.
Sceptical about your ability to avoid sexual activity?
Yeah. I think sceptical in general that, you know, the unit could be trusted to deal with that. But of course I formed a part of that, but she was also very keen at that stage that I should go and work on that unit because she could see that I was very keen to join it.
Why was she sceptical, first of all, about you?
You'd have to ask her, sir.
And why was she sceptical about the unit?
Again, I think you'd have to ask her. I think she felt that, you know, all boys together, but that's just my impression. She would give a better sort of explanation, I think.
There were social events to which wives and partners were invited, weren't there?
I think so, yeah.
So did she get to know your managers and fellow UCOs?
No, other than in when they visited to sort of talk about the unit, and as I've said about the previous sergeant, I don't recall us going to lots of gatherings of supervisors and officers from the unit. We were friendly with a couple of officers that I served alongside on the unit, and we would occasionally socialise with them.
I'm trying to explore why it was that she was sceptical of the unit and how she might know it was largely male.
I think that was explained to her, sir. I think when she was visited by sort of supervisors who explained what the unit did, I think she understood. I think I would have told her as well.
Your witness statement goes on to say that, words to the effect of, with hindsight, you thought the training you were given was inadequate on this issue. What training do you think you should have been given about sexual relationships in your undercover identity?
In all honesty, sir, any kind of training at all before we deployed out into that world would have been quite good. I can't really say about sexual activity. I'm not sure what would have prevented things from happening, because every situation is unique, unfortunately.
Can we have up MPS 0721992, please? This is a record, if we go to page 2, it's a record of an interview that you gave with Operation Hearn officers at New Scotland Yard in 2013, between the 12th and the 14th of August. Could we go to page 10, please? At the bottom, there is a section headed Lawrence Campaign.
Yes, sir.
It runs just over the page. I'd like you to refresh your memory of the whole record of this section. Give you a moment to read that. First of all, is that an accurate summary of what you said to her on the topic of the Lawrence campaign?
I think so.
The third line refers to you reading HN81's deployment file. Can you help us? I'll give you a moment to check the cipher list.
I was just confirming.
Okay. Can you help us with what a deployment file was and the sorts of things that were on a deployment file?
Yeah, my understanding was it was a document that contained our intelligence reporting and would have contained that kind of sensitive information about individuals, etc., and any reports that have been put in.
Now, when you say sensitive information about individuals, do you mean the people they were reporting on, or do you mean that the file would contain things about HN81, about his welfare?
Oh, no. It would have been to do with reporting on what the group were basically up to, what they were doing, what they were planning, events, etc., who were the main sort of people within the group. I did not see anything personal, as it were, relating to any other officer.
It says in about 2000, Carlo went to his house to benefit from his experience.
Yes.
So is it right you went to HN81's home?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And was that before or after you deployed?
That was before, I think.
And why did you go to see HN81?
I think we basically, before deployment, we would spend a bit of time with officers currently in the field for them to really, I suppose, give us the benefit of their experiences and knowledge. And that's why I think HN81 was one of the people that I had a coffee with.
What did he say to you about the movement for justice?
Other than it was a protest group and was obviously of a left-wing persuasion, I think that was part of the reason for seeing him, because at that time I was moving towards going into left-wing groups. I can't really remember more than that. He certainly, he did not share any sensitive information with me. He just gave me a general flavour of what his work entailed.
What did he say about the Stephen Lawrence campaign?
Not very much. I don't think he even said to me that he was involved with it. That may have come from other sources, but he may have done. But I can't remember. It was the whole purpose of that meetup was to talk about how you get to know people who are involved within that side of politics at that time. So it was more about tradecraft.
What did he say about the Stephen Lawrence inquiry?
Nothing that I recall, sir.
Are you saying that he might have said something that you don't recall?
He could have done, but it wasn't what I was interested in. I was interested in understanding, because this was obviously pre-deployment, but I was deploying quite soon after this. I was interested in how the start of the deployment would look and what would be wise and maybe not so wise to do in terms of how I approached these groups.
Did he say anything about the impact of the Stephen Lawrence campaign or the Stephen Lawrence inquiry on the Metropolitan Police Service?
Not personally. I mean, obviously, the whole Stephen Lawrence history and issue is a massive thing for the Metropolitan Police, and quite rightly. But he did not mention anything specific around that. As I say, I'm not even sure that he talked about it to me.
Did he talk about Neville Lawrence at all?
No.
Or Doreen Lawrence?
No.
Or Dwayne Brooks?
No.
Are you sure about that?
Sir, as I say, I don't believe so. It may have been casual conversations we had, but there was nothing specific that that officer would have said to me. He was more private than that.
Did he say anything to you about the risk of sexual activity undercover?
I don't think so, no. Don't recall ever having had that kind of conversation with him. I think I went out to see him on the occasion spoken about here, but more than that, I might have seen him occasionally in what we called the back office. But he, as far as I can recall, he was sort of on his way out, so he didn't sort of spend a lot of time chatting to us. And in my opinion, he was not that kind of individual.
It says, beginning of the section we've got on the screen, Carlo states that the SDS were deployed to the Lawrence campaign. What was the basis for saying that to Operation Hearn?
As I say, I would have said that they were deployed against Movement for Justice. Movement for Justice, to my knowledge, was involved within the Lawrence campaign. I'm not sure that I actually ever wrote that down, sir. But yes, it sort of follows. If obviously we were involved with Movement for Justice, then it would follow that there was an involvement in the Lawrence campaign.
And how did you know that?
Talk, I would imagine. It certainly was nothing official was ever said to me, sir. And I personally never had anything to do with it. It wasn't what I was interested in my deployment.
When you say talk with who?
Chit-chat.
Amongst?
The office, the field. We all had a rough idea of what we were doing and who we were involved with, because obviously there are sort of operational reasons for that. So if you were out deployed, you might know that in this example, I don't think it ever happened, but that officers involved with Movement for Justice were out, or that officers involved in other groups were out and about, because obviously you didn't really want to be surprised, because that could give the game away.
Moving to the very bottom of this extract, reads, Carlo states that HN81 was very aware of where the line was. It feels as though Pete Francis has borrowed a lot of his examples from other officers' work. What line are you referring to?
I can't remember exactly, sir. Would you be okay for me to give my opinion?
Well, let me put it this way. I mean, this is a record of what you said.
Yeah.
I want to know what you meant.
I think what I probably meant by that was in terms of his reporting on the protest group that he was involved with, hence talking about crossing over into close family and things like that. I do need to state, sir, and I'm very sorry, but I really didn't have a lot to do with that officer because he was on his way out. So,
understood. Were you referring to Stephen's bereaved family?
Yeah, could well have been. I think that would have been in the context of that sort of conversation, that I did not think the officer had crossed the line, as it were.
To family justice campaigns?
Yes.
To racial justice campaigns?
Yeah, I believe so.
Who set the line?
I don't know, sir. Sorry. I would imagine that was a personal choice by the officer, but also I would think that they received guidance from their cover officers. We would discuss aspects of our deployment with our sort of supervisors, etc. So I think that an issue as serious as this would have gleaned that kind of level of supervision.
Is that an assumption or is that something you know?
bit of both, really. I'm sorry. Definitely assumption there, but I also feel that, you know, that would have been something that was spoken about at the very least. And I certainly wasn't aware that, as I've said there, that the line was crossed.
Where was the line?
For me personally, or for this case?
For HN81?
Again, as I say, on the occasions I met him, I always got the impression that he was diligent and that he understood how far he could go. But again, he would never, as far as I can remember, he never revealed anything that would have made me raise an eyebrow. He was involved with activists in a justice campaign.
That doesn't quite answer my question of where was the line? Did you know where the line was for HN81's deployment?
No, I wouldn't have done. No, sir. Sorry.
If we could take that down now, please. We understand, again, from notes taken of what you said to Operation Hearn officers, that you, before deploying, looked at Peter Francis's file. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Again, are we talking about a deployment file?
Yeah, it would have been intelligence reports, things like that. It would not have been anything personal, I've said.
Did it have documents in it about the litigation which Mr. Francis brought against the MPS or not?
No. No, I don't think so, actually. This was his deployment file, so it would have contained intelligence reports. No, I don't think it had anything about the litigation. I was aware of it, sir, because I had spoken with... I do apologise. HM123, obviously I had met him before I joined it, and I know that they were very close because he'd told me so, and I think they had spoken about litigation because, as I say, certainly HM123, but I also got the impression that Mr. Francis both felt they'd been very unfairly treated.
Your reason for looking at Mr. Francis's file was presumably because you were going to infiltrate similar groups.
Yes, sir. I don't know how much you want to hear about my...
What I'd like to hear about is, from reading his file, what impression did you form about the away team?
That this was a stewarding group that happily worked with other anti-fascist groups in what we would term street confrontations.
And what impression did you form about Frank Smith from what you read?
He was a member of the away team.
Dan Gilman?
Member of the away team.
Paul Heron?
Yeah, I think he was in the file.
And in terms of the impression given as to the sort of conduct they indulged in when combating fascism, how accurate were they in comparison to the reality when you met them?
I would say accurate, sir.
In all three cases?
Not Mr. Heron. I didn't really get to know Mr. Heron until later on in my deployment. But certainly Mr. Gilman and, well, I won't get into names, sir, but certainly the other two, that was the whole reason I sort of ended up alongside them.
Sorry, what was the whole reason you ended up alongside them?
The anti-fascist activity and the stewarding, as it was called by themselves, the stewarding element, but there was a physical aspect to it.
We'll come back to that in more detail later, but what I'd like to return to now is litigation we touched upon a moment ago. Could we have up 738088? if we go over the page to show you what it is, it's again a note from your meeting with Operation Hearn in August 2013. This is one of the manuscript notes that was made of that meeting. If we could go to page 38, please. And I'm interested essentially in the bottom 2/3 from contacted by DS Ray newspaper article to the bottom. Give you a moment to refresh your memory about that. Is this a reference to the litigation brought by the two officers against the MPS?
Possibly. I think this was around the time that, as it says there was a newspaper article printed, and I think it did relate to Mr. Francis. So yes.
Because it says Francis and then redacted payout.
Yeah.
And then underneath that it says sense of betrayal huge, wanted to find them and sort them out. First of all, what was the betrayal?
Well, we were a covert unit, so obviously the sense of betrayal would be that a former officer on that unit had gone to the newspapers and effectively put everyone that was serving on the unit on offer. I think that's what it would have come down to.
Was it just the newspaper article, or was it also the fact that Mr. Francis had brought litigation?
For me, it would have been just the newspaper article. Well,
that takes me to my next question. Who felt betrayed?
Well, myself, and I would imagine other undercover officers, but again, I can only speak for me, sir.
When you say you imagine, did other undercover officers ever say to you, either in relation to the litigation or the newspaper article, that they felt betrayed, or words to that effect?
Yes.
Within the unit, how widespread was that feeling?
Well, I can only speak. There were people I was friendly with on the unit and people that we didn't really speak a lot. I think it would be unnatural to not feel betrayed by something like this.
So wanted to find them and sort them out. Who wanted to find them and sort them out?
I can't remember, sir. I think, to be honest, that would have been figures of speech.
Did you?
No.
Did anyone else say that they wanted to?
Possibly. I can't really remember for sure. No one springs to mind. I couldn't even tell you who spoke about these things.
Sort them out.
Yes, sir.
That's plural. Was that a reference not just to Mr. Francis, but to both the officers who brought the litigation?
Yes, I believe so.
Then at the bottom of that page, proper anger. They were selling out. Who was properly angry?
I think as a unit, we were angry. We felt we were being betrayed.
Does that anger remain?
No. Not for me, sir, no.
Why not?
A long time's passed, sir. I feel at that time, I think it was very personal and raw. But I couldn't tell you the last time I thought about the gentleman in question, either of them, because I wish them well in their lives, but never ever did I seek to go and find them or anything like that.
To your knowledge, are any other undercover officers still angry?
Not to my knowledge.
Who have you spoken to since the inquiry was announced amongst your former colleagues?
There are 2 former colleagues from that unit that I am in regular touch with.
Could you write down, unless you're sure they don't have anonymity,
They both do, sir.
could you write down either their nominals or their names, please?
I'm just having trouble finding the other one. I do apologise, sir.
Well, if you want to write down the name, that's equally acceptable. Thank you. That's right. Could you just give me a yes/no answer to this question, please? Have you spoken to either of those former SDS officers about the evidence in the inquiry?
No.
So would that be a convenient moment to take the morning break?
Certainly. We always have a morning break, mainly for the benefit of the transcribers, but also for you.
Thanks, sir.
Do you need 15 minutes? 10 minutes? 10 minutes.
If we could have back up the document 526923, please. Sorry, I beg your pardon, 526893. Thank you. We were looking at participation in offences. Can we go to the paragraph below, Code of Conduct?
Yes, sir.
I have discussed the SDS Code of Conduct with Detective Constable Soracchi, who acknowledges the responsibility placed upon him and agrees to abide by it. Could we have up 526923, which we understand to be the Code of Conduct, page 2. Is this the code?
Yes, if you're telling me it is, sir, I don't recall it.
Could you have a look at the first 2 paragraphs, please?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand when you deployed that those 2 paragraphs applied to you?
Yes. The second paragraph, I wouldn't say I would have completely understood it, but yes.
Had your managers discussed it with you as recorded in the document we just looked at?
They may have done, sir. I can't remember for sure. I know before deployment there was a discussion, but as I say, I don't recall these paragraphs, but it was a long time ago, I'm afraid.
Can you help us with whether the atmosphere was such that if you'd been in any doubt as to your understanding, you could have queried it?
I think I could have, yes, because a discussion was always encouraged. However, it always felt very informal.
Did you seek any clarification?
No, not to my recollection, sir.
If you didn't fully understand it, is it fair to say you should have done?
Yes, indeed.
That section ends with a reference to the Code of Practice. If we could have up 526, same document but at page 4. We understand this to be the Code of Practice. If you can go back to the beginning of the document to show the witness that, and then it's page 4 I want to. The next page. See, it says Code of Practice.
Yes,
and over the page again, so we can look at 1.10. Thank you. Collateral intrusion.
Yes.
Before authorising any undercover operations, authorising officers will take into account the risk of intrusion into privacy of persons other than the specific target of the undercover operation, collateral intrusion. Measures will be taken wherever practicable to avoid collateral intrusion. Did you see this document?
I can't say 100%, but I certainly recognise the term collateral intrusion, and I would imagine that was probably where I learnt that from, or other RIPA-related documents.
Did you understand that you needed to, wherever practicable, avoid collateral intrusion?
Yes.
And was that discussed with you when you spoke to HN53 and HN58 before deploying?
I can't remember. I would imagine it would have been.
And I've used both there, but I need to clarify. Did you speak just to HN58 before deploying, or to both of them?
I believe it would have been just with HM58. Just let me confirm. Yes.
If we could go back now to page 526893 and to page 4 of that document. So 526893. This is 923. If we could have 526893, please. This is back to your initial tasking and authorisation document. I want to take you to a different part of that document. Page 4, please. This is part of the authorisation and tasking document. It's a section risk assessment that I want to show you now. If we could just have the risk assessment. Thank you. Give you a moment to look at that. It's the first paragraph I'm particularly interested in. You'll see the last sentence of the first paragraph says, there have been no instances of physical retribution. Were you told that?
I don't recall being told that, no, sir.
Wouldn't that have been quite reassuring to know?
Yes, it would. As I say, I had previously, before I had joined the unit, had a conversation with an officer who had served and had an issue. And I think that was part of his problem with the MPS and his management.
Well, I'm interested here just in what you were told. The final paragraph says, although the present assessment would militate against a physical attack on an officer, should he or she be exposed, it is important to be aware that these groups do contain violent and resourceful individuals.
Yes, sir.
Were you told that your deployment had been risk assessed, and the risk assessment was that there was little risk of physical attack?
No, sir. Not that I can recall, sir.
Would it have been helpful if you had been told that?
Yes, it would have been helpful.
During your deployment, did you ever feel that if you had been compromised, you would be physically attacked?
Yes, sir.
Can you help us with what made you feel that?
I had seen on at least one occasion, if not two, where somebody who had joined the group, to my knowledge, they were not anything to do with my world. It had been decided that they were not desirable because there was something not right about them. And I had watched certain members of the group threaten them with physical violence.
Had any of them been visited with physical violence?
I think one had, but again, I remember the confrontation. I think it was in, more than likely, in a pub somewhere. But yeah, there were two occasions. I think one was in London, and one would have been on one of our out of London trips.
And on the occasion on which there was there violence on either of those occasions?
Not that I can recall, sir.
So what's the basis for you saying that there had been violence in one case?
Because weapons were produced.
But not actually used?
No, not that I saw. I stayed well away.
What weapons?
Well, on one occasion, it sounds stupid, it was literally a pen was pulled out and pointed into someone's eye and they were told to leave the pub. That to me sort of looks like a threat of violence.
Do you know whether the person concerned who issued that threat is anonymous or not?
I think they're anonymous, yes, sir.
Could you write the name down, please?
Thank you. Thank you.
This is the person for whom we use the cipher Mario.
So,
Can we take that document down now, please? Can we go back to the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act? At the time you were deployed, can you remember whether or not you'd had any training about RIPA?
yes, sir. In my service as a police officer, yeah, I do think I had RIPA training prior to going onto the unit.
Were you involved in the periodic reviews of the authorisation for your deployment?
Not that I can recall, sir. I know there were periodic reviews done.
The way you describe it in your witness statement is that you were told that your deployment was
Yes.
being reviewed and the authorisations were being continued, but not the ins and outs.
Yeah, absolutely. I would confirm that.
What were you told?
You've been reauthorised.
Were you given any reminders about the parameters of your deployment or any of the
No, sir.
boundaries that applied to it?
No, sir. None come to mind.
Were you at any time given any guidance as to the threshold of the type of gravity of offending or disorder that you were tasked to gain intelligence about?
I don't think so. No.
Section 81, subsection 3 of the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act sets a threshold. It reads, an offence for which a person who has attained the age of 21 and has no previous convictions could reasonably be expected to be sentenced to imprisonment for a term of 3 years or more. Were you aware of that provision of the Act?
I probably would have been at the time, sir. I certainly, we're talking quite a time after now. I don't recall that, but certainly that would have, if that was part of the RIPA and the learning package we had, I'm sure I would have become aware of that or been aware of that.
Was it a provision that your SDS managers ever drew your attention to?
Not that I can recall, sir.
Was it a threshold that your SDS managers ever drew your attention to?
No.
Was the concept of necessity ever explained to you in the context of undercover operations?
I think there may have been discussion about, obviously, necessity and proportionality, yes.
What was your understanding of those concepts as applied to your deployment?
We were deployed primarily to protect against public order offences, which could involve serious criminal offences. That was my understanding as to why I was put out there.
What was your understanding of of how proportionality might affect what you did undercover?
Can't really remember, Sarah. I do apologise.
You said that you did have some understanding. My understanding of your answer was you earlier said you did have some understanding of the concept of collateral intrusion.
Yes, sir.
Can you expand upon your understanding of the concept of collateral intrusion insofar as it applied to your deployment?
Okay, so, for example, I am attending a protest or an action against political opponents that may or may not result in disorder. Following that, obviously, I've provided the intel briefing prior to, and if was deemed necessary, whilst involved, but afterwards there is a big social at someone's house. Not a public bar, but in their house. That, to me, would have been proportionate collateral intrusion, because it would have seemed really strange had I not attended something like that.
Would there be any boundaries to your mind, applied by the concept of proportionality as to how you should behave at such a party?
I don't think so. No, my going from memory and thinking back to those times, I just tried to be myself.
Can we have up your witness statement, please, at 35550 at page 11? Paragraph 19.7. Give you a moment to read that.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the distinction between an intelligence gathering undercover officer in the SDS and a more conventional evidential deployment by SO10.
Yes, sir.
Can you help us with to what extent you thought that you were subject to ethical constraints whilst acting undercover?
Never really thought like that. We were told you will not go into the evidential change. That is why we have the SO10 element. You are there to provide intelligence about upcoming events, etc. I don't think I ever really gave that any thought, if I'm honest with you, sir.
Did you understand that the rules that applied to you were those set out in the Code of Conduct and the Code of Practice we looked at a moment ago?
Yes, at that time, yes, I think I did.
Could we take that down now? Can we go to tab C2? This is an MPS document 303710. Moving now to your actual deployment.
Yes, sir.
This is a document, an intelligence report dated the 1st of August 2000, and it records that no platform has been formed. Can you help us? Did you have any involvement in the formation of no platform?
No, sir.
And can you, if we say, look at the source comment, the aim of the group is to provide a powerful stewarding arm for left-wing public order protests and to undertake the targeting of right-wing individuals.
Yes, sir.
Stewarding, at this early stage of your deployment, what did you understand that a powerful stewarding arm would do?
At that time, obviously, from what was the way it was explained to me, was if need be, provide physical assistance, shall we say, and be there to sort of prevent opposition activists targeting, having a go at the people that we were with and that we were walking alongside.
To protect left-wing demonstrators exercising their right to protest.
Yep. We talk about the march in Leicester there, and that was certainly what it was about. But it was also explained to me that sometimes preemptive stuff worked well as well. So disrupting and looking at their forming up areas and things like this.
When you say disrupting, how?
Through violence and intimidation.
Was that explained to you in those terms?
Maybe not exactly those words, but yes, that was what was explained to me.
Because you've written to undertake the targeting of right-wing individuals. What did you mean by that?
I've got to say at this point, sir, I would not have actually written that report. I would have been debriefed by my cover officers.
I understand that,
Right.
but it says source comment,
Yeah,
and that means it's come from you, doesn't it?
yeah. Yes.
So if you want to take, if something isn't doesn't accurately express what you think your reported say so, but otherwise, did you comment to the effect that no platform was going to target right-wing individuals?
I understand it now. Thank you, sir. Yes, I would have said something along those lines, definitely.
And what was the basis for your understanding of that on as of the 1st of August 2000?
It would have come from conversations that I had with the activists from that group.
And what had they described to you by way of targeting?
Working out where the opposition activists were, working out where they might live. Obviously, social media was not such a big thing then, but there were sort of leaflets, newspapers, all that kind of thing. And it would have been what I call intelligence gathering about their activities.
With a view to doing what?
Stopping them.
Can we take that down? Can we have tab C3, MPS 303753? This is 2 days later, 3rd of August 2000. Bears your cover name at the top. And says it's intelligence about Jerry Gable. Frank Smith, a member of the Socialist Party away team, currently receives information on extreme right-wingers from Jerry Gable, the editor of Searchlight. Had you started to form a relationship with Frank Smith by this stage?
Yes, I'd met him and others.
And what sort of information was Mr. Smith receiving from the editor of Searchlight?
I don't know. All I was told that they would meet with Mr. Gable or his representatives and be passed intelligence about right-wing activity.
And what was your understanding of the nature of Searchlight as an organisation?
They were basically a group that were interested, obviously, in the activities of the extreme right-wing, as we used to call them back then.
Was it an organisation that cooperated with the police?
I think I would say at that time, possibly.
And how did they cooperate with police?
I don't know. I was never party to any Searchlight stuff other than when I was out receiving information like that.
It says, Smith has occasionally used this information in order to carry out serious assaults on right-wing activists. A recent example of this was the unreported assault on 2 members of the British National Party whilst they were canvassing in the Slade Green Council election. Did you witness that?
No, I was not there, sir. This was a story that was told to me as an example of where information and intelligence came from.
Told you by someone you were dealing with undercover or by someone in the SDS?
From an activist from the people I was dealing with undercover.
An activist whose name is unredacted or an anonymous activist?
It could have been Mr. Smith. It could have been one of the other activists that were in that group. I recall from memory that it, again, was probably at a social function where we were talking about this type of thing.
And can you describe what was reported to you?
Well, just there, that they had been out looking for BNP activists who were canvassing, and they had caught up with a couple of them and assaulted them. They didn't go into greater detail than that because there was a bit of merriment around it.
Did they make absolutely clear that physical violence had been visited on these 2 members of the BNP, or was there room for doubt about that?
No, they made it clear.
When you say they, was Mr. Gilman one of those?
He might have been, sir. I cannot say for sure. It would have been within that group.
Or Mr. Batty?
again, I couldn't say 100%.
Is your evidence you can't remember?
I don't think so. So I think it would have been with that group. Yeah, I wouldn't want to say more than that at this moment.
Can we take that down? Can we have up from tab C4, MPS 303783? This is a report dated the 14th of August, and thank you. Says that on the 17th of August, the Hackney branch of the SWP have organised a picket outside the offices of the CPS, gives their address, between 12:30 and 2, in order to demand that the police officers involved in the shooting of Harry Stanley should be put on trial. Numbers are unlikely to be high due to the time the picket has been organised for. Disorder is highly unlikely. Can you help us with the SWP's interest in campaigning about Harry Stanley?
Not really, sir. This would have been something that I probably picked up in a local pub around Hackney. I can't really comment more than that.
Did you have any understanding as to why the SWP wished to campaign on behalf of Harry Stanley?
Some kind of justice campaign.
To what extent did you get involved in that justice campaign?
Other than to drink in a pub where there would have been some activists from that, not at all. It was not my reason for deployment. There was no interest in me going over that way. That was purely anecdotal, really.
Are you able to help us in comparative terms as between the Metropolitan Police Service's interest in the Harry Stanley campaign and its interest in the Stephen Lawrence campaign?
I'm afraid not, sir. As I say, I had very little to do with this.
Did you get any management reaction having reported on an event relating to the Harry Stanley campaign?
Not that I can remember, no.
You don't report here anything about the likely racial mix of those who will be protesting on behalf of Harry Stanley. Would it have been different if you'd been reporting on a racial justice campaign?
I don't think so, sir, no. And again, I would say that I would have just put anecdotal information in. There will be a protest. I wouldn't have put anything differently to this.
If we take that down now and have up from tab C57, sir, MPS 305054, this is a further intelligence report about the Harry Stanley campaign, although it's later, it's from January 2001. I'll give you a moment to look at that. Why are you reporting that a member of the SWP is going to accompany Harry Stanley's widow to a meeting with Lee Jasper to see if he could assist with the justice campaign?
Because the gentleman in question told me in a pub. I got chatting to him because he had a very interesting dog that was very friendly, and it just came up in the conversation.
What is the policing interest in the matters you've reported there?
I couldn't comment, sir. I was tasked to report on information that I picked up. I would go in and be debriefed, and they would do the rest. So I couldn't say.
Did you get any feedback in relation to this report?
I don't think there was any interest. I never heard anything again. As I say, the reason I remember this is because of the dog, not the individual, I'm afraid.
Could we take that down now, please, and have up from tab C5, MPS 303824. This is, we're back to August, 21st of August 2000, and this is an intelligence report attributed to you with the title Hackney Rubbish. I'll give you a moment to read that.
So.
The background to this is there was an industrial dispute, wasn't there, between Hackney Council and its workers?
Yes, sir.
Essentially about, was it pay and conditions?
Don't know. Probably.
It says about plans to privatise the department and make 48 employees redundant. Do you recall that?
Vaguely. This type of activity would have been what we called legend building, i.e. you are an activist, and so where possible you will support activities. I can't remember why I put this in, but again, as I say, I think I was just providing anecdotal information in case it became of interest.
Was there an interest in the way in which the Socialist Workers' Party was getting involved in industrial disputes?
No, this was legend building for me.
Was there an interest in how the Socialist Party was getting involved in industrial action?
No, it was the same.
If this was pure legend building, why did you report it?
Because we were basically told, report everything. You don't know when it's going to be of interest. If something had come out around this would have been just something to add to the file.
And what might have been of interest in relation to a dispute between Hackney's refuse collectors and their council?
Disorder, assaults, that kind of thing. So these things were just formed part of just keeping people informed of the general, what was going on in the area.
If we could take that down, please. SWP's Brighton Counter Conference and the Labour Party. Can we have up MPS 303960. This is a report from the 19th of September about a planned counter-demonstration against the Labour Party. I'll give you a moment to look at it. My first question, though, is going to be, were you there?
No, sir, I was not.
Can we take that down then? And can we have from C11, MPS 303968. Report on the same day about the Labour Party conference. Give you a moment to look at it.
Thank you. So,
on the face of it, this report seems to be about a counter-conference.
Yes, sir.
Not what might be termed a public order event.
So,
Why are you reporting on a political conference?
This, to me, would have come off of a leaflet that I have probably handed in to my cover officers, and they have created a report out of it. I cannot think of any other reason. Even reading it, it just reads like that has come off a leaflet.
But this was what you understood you were expected to report?
I would have just handed that leaflet in. I would hand the newspaper in. As I say, what the back office then did with it was beyond my control.
Can we take that down now, please, from tab C14, MPS 304039, please. 28th of September 2000. The anti-fascist group No Platform intend to target National Front paper sales at football matches in the near future. Did you attend any events at which such paper sellers were confronted?
I never saw paper sellers being confronted. I did attend events like that, but we did not, the group I was with did not see any National Front paper sellers as far as I can remember. Other bits, because it would have all been divided up, may well have done.
So can I take it you're saying that you went to football matches looking for National Front paper sellers but didn't find any?
Yeah, I think I never went more than a couple of occasions, but I certainly didn't, to my relief.
If we could take that down now, please. Could we have from tab C19, MPS 304160. We're moving on now to the 9th of October 2000. There's a report here on an individual who's employed as a photographer by the SWP, but unusually was also a member of the Socialist Party and was being asked by the SWP to stand as a candidate for the London Socialist Alliance at a forthcoming election, an invitation which he had declined. Would it be fair to describe this person as a rank and file member of the SWP?
If it's the person I'm thinking about, and I'm fairly certain, yes. Sorry, my apologies, to correct. A rank and file member of the Socialist Party, not the SWP.
Was he, as a rank and file member of the Socialist Party,
yes,
and an employee of the SWP, why did you report on that person?
I think the reason for reporting of this would have been to show the divisions that exist, or existed, between the two parties, despite the fact that they were both of a, am I allowed to sort of say what their politics were, sir?
You can say what their politics
they were of a Trotskyist, Marxist disposition. My impression was they hated each other. I think probably describing the Monty Python People's Front of Judea would be a good way of putting it, sir.
Had you been given any guidance about the level of interest that there was in the workings of the SWP and the SP?
Not really. Our interest was the parts of both of those parties that would engage in physical confrontation.
Who did you understand the customers for this sort of intelligence were?
No idea. I reported to the public order desk, and I think there was a left-wing desk within my department.
There isn't a public order dimension to this information, is there?
No, but again, it would provide a flavour of the feelings between the groups.
Did anybody explain to you that by this stage the security services' interest in the SWP was to keep a watching brief, and they were no longer interested in rank and file matters?
No, sir. At no stage was security service ever mentioned during my deployment.
Could we take that down now, please? Could we have from tab C20 MPS 304161? This is 9th of October 2000, and it's about an NUS demonstration that was being organised to protest about student fees. And then the source comment, recruiting from the student fraternity are believed to be in the region of 1,000 persons at this time of year. What was it made you think you should be reporting on the recruitment efforts of the SWP?
That whole reason for that would have been to inform sort of policing plans if there were demonstrations planned and where the people came from. That's all I can think of.
Forgive me, this isn't a detailed... I mean, you are reporting there's going to be a demonstration, but you're not providing any details of that demonstration.
No.
You are reporting on recruitment numbers. What was the point of keeping tabs on how many people the SWP were recruiting?
You would probably have, and I'm not being... you probably have to ask someone else, sir. I would have provided the information. I would have said, this is what I've been told. They would have created a report from it, as we can see, and that would have gone to other people on a desk. Did
anybody ever say that anything was off limits so far as reporting on the SWP was concerned?
No, sir.
Did anybody tell you that anything was off limits so far as reporting on the Socialist Party was concerned?
No, sir. It was explained to me that anecdotal reporting, which is what we probably would have called this, all helped to build a picture up of what was occurring.
Can we take that document down now, please, and have from tab C31, MPS 304381. We're moving now to a report on Halloween 2000. It's got your code name, and underneath the title is Mrs. Sherry Blair.
Yes,
On the 1st of November 2000, Mrs. Cherry Blair, wife of the Prime Minister, is due to visit a nursery school in Haringey. Her visit will coincide with a small demonstration by members of Fight Back in association with some mothers from neighbouring Hackney, where the nursery schools are under threat of closure due to Hackney Council's maladministration. Under source comment, numbers of activists are unlikely to exceed 3. Fight Back are leading the campaign against Hackney Council's potential cuts to their services and are an amalgam of SWP, SP and Unison. Were you one of the 3 demonstrators?
No, not from memory.
No public order risk is reported here.
Absolutely, sir. However, we are talking about the wife of the then Prime Minister. She would have had some kind of protection detail, and this would purely have informed a policing plan.
And are these 3 demonstrators, were they nursery workers?
I've got no idea, sir. I am sorry.
Can I take it from this report that there was no de minimis rule when it came to what you were expected to report?
Please forgive me, you'll have to explain.
There was nothing too trivial to report.
Again, this was anecdotal reporting, sir, which would have informed a policing plan because there would have been a police officer present because the wife of the Prime Minister was attending. So it was relevant to provide something.
Can you help us with the nature of Fight Back? The handler's comments tell us that it's an amalgamation of the 2 political parties and the trade union, which are there set out. Was it in the nature of a campaign that was being run against local authorities because of perceived maladministration and cuts?
Possibly. I can't really remember, sir. I was looking at that. I would have still been legend building at that time.
Well, there's quite a lot of reporting that you put in due course about Fight Back.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of reports I could take you to. How familiar did you become with Fight Back?
I would attend socials. I would probably stand on a picket line, for want of a better word, or a demonstration. I lived in Hackney at that time. It was, as I say, part of my legend building, sir.
Could we have, take that down please, and have up C47 MPS 304867. This is 12th of December 2000. I'll give you a moment to look at the report. It's about an individual's plan to stand for the council. Why did you report on a member of the community's plan to stand in elections for the local council?
It would have been information I picked up at that time.
And what was it about that sort of information that made you think your bosses would be interested in it?
We had, at that time, there was a left-wing, extreme left-wing desk, and I think they may well have asked me to provide information. Why, I don't know. I just, again, anything I picked up, I would report back when I was being debriefed.
Can you recall what feedback you got for this?
No, sir.
But was it your understanding that this was the sort of information that the left-wing desk would be interested in?
I can't remember, sir. As I say, I was legend building at this time, so any kind of activity that I could show I was committed was important at that time.
If we look at the source comment, it says, as one of the only black organisers involved in the Fight Back campaign, he is the darling of the SWP hierarchy.
Yep.
Why did you report on this gentleman's race?
I think because this individual stood out, and I think it was something that they were interested in at that time. I can't think why else.
Why did he stand out?
Well, they would have, when I was being debriefed, I would have been asked for a description, who this person was, etc., and what I knew about them. So that's why I would have provided that. I can't think of any other reason.
Was there a concern that the SWP was trying to use race as a way of advancing its political agenda?
No. I think, again, it was interesting because it was something that at that time didn't happen a lot. And I think there may have been an interest because obviously it might appeal to certain sections of society. But I can't say more than that. I think I just reported that back to my cover officer and they put that in.
Could we take the document down, please? So would now be a convenient moment to break for lunch.
Certainly. We'll break now until 2.